Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to welcome all of you today. Thank you for taking time with us. Mr. Kelly, a special thanks to you being here as a native of Alabama, Eufaula, Alabama, just right down the road from my hometown of Enterprise. And I think you'll understand this, Senator Kennedy. He is a true bipartisan witness. He graduated from Auburn University with his undergrad and then graduated from the University of Alabama with his MBA. So we are certainly proud to have you here today.
Thank you, Senator Britt.
Look, I think so much of today's discussion is clearly in light of the deposit flight we saw after the March 2023 bank failures that occurred. I think it's important for us to take this in context. That was clearly a mismanagement issue. That was clearly where we had unchecked banking executives and supervisors who truly failed to do their job. It is not a testament to the resiliency that we saw within the banking community. I mean, in Alabama, we saw continued strength even through the face of that. And so I think it's important to lay a foundation of that before we have this discussion. I do want to get your thoughts on a couple of things. So often we see this committee and then this body and Congress as a whole create regulations that, to me, become outdated very quickly. I've heard each of you speak to that, and it seems that you all feel the same, particularly when it comes to potentially indexing these things or making sure that there is fluidity, so that they're not outdated by the time they even get in. I'd like for some of you, I mean, I know that's one of the things I've looked at with the SEC small entity definition. I think it's virtually meaningless, and I have a piece of legislation that would work to move through that. But I think we've seen this a lot when it comes to the Dodd-Frank Act, amongst a number of other things. So if we're taking a look at this, I think it's important that we consider indexing or other thresholds that will make this more meaningful long-term. I'd like for each of you to talk briefly about what you think that needs to be. And again, we only have a certain amount of time, so if we could quickly, we'll start with you, Mr. Rice, and just work our way down.
Thank you, Senator. Index it to inflation, FDIC 250, that would be $350,000 today. Any recommendations from this committee, we should also do the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree completely that, when we look at thresholds that get outdated quickly, as I mentioned earlier, Dodd-Frank, was obviously changed by Congress in 2018 to, from 50 billion to 250. Now we're 7 years removed from that. Like, is 250 the new number, right?
Right.
Does it need to be changed?
Right.
And so indexing that, I think, is a good way of getting at that issue.
Okay.
I agree. Indexing, Senator, is really important. The other thing is the world changes, and sometimes these limits have to change with them.
Okay.
I agree, Senator.
Okay. So question for you all. I've heard us talk obviously a lot about business accounts, and I think we all understand the importance of that and payroll, et cetera. My question, I'd like to follow up, since we've gotten some answers on that, about personal accounts. Do you feel like that actually needs to be increased as well? Mr. Rice, we'll start with you.
I do, even based, Senator, on your indexing idea, that would be $350,000 today.
Okay.
I think that you need to look at it from an individual level, because there's a lot of different ways that you can increase that deposit insurance cap. It's not just 250. So say you're married, you get 500, right? Because you get two.
But do you not think it puts smaller banks at a disadvantage, where you have larger banks kind of sort of too big to fail, that people are even moving some of their personal accounts over there?
It would absolutely depend on what the dollar value of those individuals' accounts are, right?
Because what I'm concerned about is when I see these incredible community banks across Alabama and the resiliency that they've shown in the face of sometimes the unthinkable. Those are pillars of community that ultimately allow our small businesses and their main streets and families who are trying to achieve their American dream to thrive. And in many cases, what we don't want to do is see what we're doing here in this committee and Congress drive them to a larger entity, when I feel like it's so essential for them to stay a part of the community that I think serves them so well.
I absolutely agree. I think that Main Street banks are the linchpin of our
100%.
Consumer economy. I just think that there are ways, to be honest, that you can structure those accounts so that you can make sure that you maximize.
Well, I'd love to talk to you about that more. I'm running out of time. I apologize.
I apologize.
Go ahead.
Senator, so for me personally, I don't speak on behalf of the organization. We haven't had this question on the personal side. I support it. Indexing for sure.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Kelly, since you obviously understand the community banking world, what are the challenges that we have in front of us if we are to increase this, either on the business or the personal side? What I've heard from some is kind of a concern about assessments and the shifting there and kind of what that means long term. Can you speak about the positive and the negative of what this would bring?
Yeah, I think being very deliberate, if this body approves the recommendations we've put forward, put some energy behind moving very swiftly on it. This
Okay.
is not a 2-year study. We found even in the 2008 timeframe when the decision was made, they've been talking about deposit insurance for years prior to that. We need action now on this and need your leverage, your leadership to help make this happen sooner than later.
Yes, sir, and War Eagle and Roll Tide.